Chapter 11. Come home. Lucian moved toward the voice. Not with the body. With everything beneath it. His soul surged through Darian's chest like a man throwing himself against a locked door. The impact drove Darian to one knee. Stone cracked beneath his greave, and silver light ripped from under his skin in branching veins. The bond between them stretched north, across the broken bridge, across the dark fields, all the way to Ashbourne Estate. For one terrible heartbeat, Darian felt Lucian slipping free. Not fading. Not dying. Leaving. Lucian. No answer came. Only the raw, aching certainty of a child who had heard his mother call after 8 years of silence. The voice crossed the valley again. Soft enough to belong beside a sickbed. Powerful enough to bend the clouds. Come home. Warmth flooded the bond. Then came a memory. Snow pressed white against a bedroom window. 6-year-old Lucian lay shivering beneath heavy blankets while Seraphine sat beside him, one hand resting against his fevered brow. Firelight touched the copper in her hair. Her voice was low and steady as she promised that nothing beyond that room could reach him. The scent of cedar smoke returned with the memory. So did the cool touch of her fingers. It was not an illusion. It was real. That made it infinitely more dangerous. Darian drove the broken sword between two fractured bridge stones. Metal shrieked against rock. He wrapped both hands around the silver thread emerging from his chest and pulled. The thread burned through his gloves at once. The blue system flared across his vision. Shared vessel separation initiated. External bloodline authority detected. Probability of successful extraction. 74%. No. Darian hauled Lucian back. Pain detonated beneath his ribs. The sword wound Alistair had made split open beneath the bandages, and hot blood poured down Darian's armor. Each drop struck the broken stones with a sound he could hear far too clearly. The bond tightened like a wire around his heart. Then Lucian's fear reached him. Not fear of the voice. Fear of Darian. Fear that Darian would stop him. Let me go. The words whispered through shared voice. Darian went still. Lucian had never sounded so young. She is pulling you. She is my mother. That does not make the pull yours. Above Ashbourne Estate, the silver pillar widened. Clouds twisted around it in a vast, soundless spiral. Moonlight vanished. Hundreds of faint shapes rose through the distant manor roof. Human silhouettes, translucent and struggling, drawn upward as if the estate itself had taken a breath. The displaced souls from the sanctuary circled the pillar like sparks trapped around a flame. Then the pillar pulsed. The shockwave rolled across the valley, flattening grass and rattling every loose stone on the bridge. General Harker shouted orders. Secure the anchored spirits. Move all wounded away from the northern road. Royal soldiers grabbed the arms of companions carrying doubled shadows. Several shadows had already begun stretching toward the estate. The displaced souls were being pulled along the same path as Lucian. Tomas seized Darian's shoulder. Edwin's shadow stood beside him, thin and silver. What is happening? Bloodline authority. That explains nothing. It means someone connected to Lucian's family is trying to remove him from the body. Tomas looked toward the estate. His mother. Yes. Wasn't she dead? That condition appears increasingly unreliable. Alistair stood motionless. His face remained white. The voice from the estate had reached him too. Not through a soul bond. Through memory. My mother died 8 years ago, he said. Darian forced himself upright. Did you see her body? Yes. In the coffin? Alistair's answer came more slowly. She was covered. By the burial cloth. Understanding moved through his expression. The same cloth concealed magical objects from system detection. The same cloth had hidden the first key fragments beneath the crypt. Alistair looked toward the silver pillar. She concealed herself. Or someone concealed what happened to her. The royal guards surrounding Orlon tightened their formation. The former general ignored them. His attention remained fixed on the estate. The second fragment controls destination, he said. General Harker turned on him. You knew the Ashbournes possessed it? I suspected Seraphine had found it. And you allowed her family to remain unwatched? I watched them constantly. Alistair drew his sword. You watched my family? Orlon looked at him. Your mother discovered Black Hollow records inside the royal archives. 3 months later, she became ill. Alistair stepped toward him. Royal soldiers lowered spears. Darien moved between the groups. Not now. Alistair's eyes did not leave Orlon. You knew her death was connected. I knew the official explanation was false. You said nothing. Seraphine asked me not to. The anger left Alistair's face. Not because it faded. Because shock replaced it. My mother spoke to you? Once. 4 days before her funeral. What did she say? Orlon's expression hardened with memory. She said the Ashbourne bloodline had been built to serve as a road. The silver pillar pulsed. Every displaced soul in the valley flickered. A royal soldier screamed as the spirit attached to his shadow was dragged 10 feet across the ground. The soldier held on. Not to a body. To the shadow itself. Help me. 3 others grabbed him. The soul continued stretching north. Darien felt the same force inside himself. Lucien's presence shifted closer to the surface. Their right hand moved without Darien's command. It reached toward the estate. The shared voice ability activated. Mother. The word came from Darien's mouth. Lucien's voice. Alistair stared. The pillar answered. My sweet boy. Lucien pushed harder. Darien's vision doubled. For a moment, he saw the bridge through 2 sets of memories. The shattered stones as they were now. The estate rode as Lucien remembered it at age 6, holding Seraphine's hand while Alistair rode ahead on a pony. Home. The concept wrapped around him. Safety. Belonging. A place before Cashen. Before the academy. Before his father's distance became contempt. Lucien was not simply being pulled by magic. He wanted to go. Darien loosened his grip on the bond. Not enough to release him. Enough to stop treating him like a prisoner. Lucien. The boy's attention turned faintly toward him. Do you want to leave this body? Silence. The silver thread strained. I want to see her. That was not my question. Pain moved through the bond. I do not know. Then no one decides until you do. The black whisper beneath Seraphine's voice returned. Bring me the commander. Darien's reclaimed fragment reacted. The part of him that desired control recoiled and leaned toward the call at the same time. An army of commanders waited beyond the first gate. Something beneath Ashbourne Estate knew what Darien carried. Perhaps it had known before he awakened. The blue system appeared. Emergency objective generated. Prevent unauthorized activation of the second key fragment. Primary failure conditions. Lucien Ashbourne extracted from shared vessel. Ashbourne Sanctuary redirected. Gate destination established. A second message appeared in black. Optional objective. Accept summons. Reward. Command authority. Darien dismissed both. General Harker approached. What do you need? The question came without rank or accusation. Darien respected it. A path to the estate. The north end of the bridge is damaged but passable on foot. The army stays here. Harker frowned. That estate contains an active soul weapon, and 2,000 soldiers will give it 2,000 additional targets. She looked toward the spirits stretching from soldiers' shadows. Who goes? Alistair. Tomas. Corvin. Tomas blinked. I was included before consultation. You identified the crystal weakness. That was cooking. You say that as though it makes the accomplishment smaller. Mora pressed a bandage against Darien's chest. He pushed her hand away again. She struck him across the face. The bridge went silent around them. Darien stared at her. Mora pressed the bandage against the wound. This time, he allowed it. You are taking a healer, she said. Yes. And I am selecting which one. Yes. I select myself. Darien considered objecting. Mora tightened the cloth until pain flashed through his body. He reconsidered. Agreed. Pell attempted to stand near the western railing. His knees failed. Corvin caught him. I am going, Pell said. No, Darian answered. The sanctuary contains hundreds of identities. My class nearly killed you 10 minutes ago. It also found your fragment. You will remain here. Pell laughed weakly. You sound very comfortable giving orders for someone who rejected command. I rejected obedience without choice. And if I choose to come? Darian looked at the cracks spreading along Pell's skin. Then I will have Corvin knock you unconscious. Corvin nodded. Pell looked offended. You have become unpleasant. I have recovered a missing part of my personality. Evelyn Thorne pushed through the Ashbourne guards. Her tattooed eyes glowed silver. The sanctuary is changing. Darian turned. What do you see? The souls are not merely being called. She looked toward the pillar. They are being sorted. By what? Blood. Orlon's expression changed. Evelyn pointed toward the lights circling the estate. Some are being pulled into the pillar. Others are being rejected. Where do the rejected souls go? Harker asked. Evelyn looked toward the darkening sky. Back toward the first gate. The breach on the bridge had closed. But far above them, a thin black line had appeared in the clouds. A second opening. Smaller. Growing. The gate had not lost its path. It had moved it. Darian looked at Harker. Keep the anchored souls here. Consent must remain clear. Anyone who wants to release their connection may do so. And if releasing them sends the spirits into the gate, then tell them the risk. Harker studied him. You expect frightened soldiers to make decisions about soul magic they learned existed this morning? No. Then why give them the choice? Because the alternative is making it for them. Harker glanced toward Orlon. The former general said nothing. That silence answered more than an argument would have. Harker turned to her officers. Explain the situation to every anchor. No forced connections. No involuntary release. Record names where possible. Royal officers began moving. Darian pointed toward Orlon. He comes with us. The guards around the former general stiffened. Harker's eyes narrowed. He is under medical supervision and royal detention. He knows the keys. He also built the devices that caused this. Yes. That is an argument against allowing him near another artifact. It is also why we need him. Orlon looked toward Darian. You are requesting my assistance? I am requiring your information. Assistance remains your choice. A hint of something moved across Orlon's face. Not amusement. Recognition. I will go. Harker stepped between them. No. The silver pillar pulsed again. The force struck the valley. Lucian's soul tore halfway from Darian's body. A silver figure appeared behind him. 17. Thin. Chains around his throat. Alistair gasped. Lucian. The spirit's eyes found his brother. Then the pull dragged him backward. Darian seized Lucian's wrist. His hand passed halfway through. Silver light burned his skin. Alistair grabbed Lucian's other arm. For one heartbeat, the brothers held him together. Lucian looked at Alistair. You can see me? Alistair's mouth opened. No sound emerged. Darian pulled. The Oath class reacted. Protected individual under forced relocation. Burden shared unavailable. External condition is not classified as injury. Then classify it as theft. Request denied. Darian activated Break the Line. Silver light traveled along Lucian's chain. The pull weakened. Not enough. Orlon stepped forward. His remaining hand glowed gold. Kingmaker's claim. Darian looked at him. No. Temporary anchor only. Ask him. Orlon's jaw tightened. The force pulling Lucian increased. Orlon looked directly at the boy. Lucian Ashbourne. May I connect your soul to my class long enough to prevent your extraction? Lucian stared at the man who had helped create the system that ruined his life. The man who had watched his family. The man Darian did not trust. No. Orlon lowered his hand immediately. The golden light vanished. Harker saw. So did every soldier nearby. Orlon had possessed the ability to act. He had not used it. The decision cost them time. It also changed something. Lucien looked surprised. Darien drove the broken sword through the silver thread connecting Lucien to the estate. The blade did not cut it. The metal began glowing. A new interface appeared. Weapon has contacted active soul path. Broken item detected. Oath-bound attribute recognized. Improvised use. Darien twisted the blade. The path bent around it. Not severed. Redirected. Lucien slammed back into the shared vessel. Darien fell onto the stones. His heartbeat stopped for half a second. Then resumed. The silver pillar narrowed. Seraphine's voice lost its warmth. "Do not keep my son from me." Darien pushed himself upright. "Then stop pulling him." The voice answered from across the valley. "You already stole everything else." Lucien shook within the bond. Darien felt the accusation reach him. Not because he believed it entirely. Because part of it was true. Harker looked at Orlon. "You have 1 hour under escort. The estate is less than 20 minutes away," Orlon said. "Then you have time to spare." She assigned 12 royal guards. Darien shook his head. 4. 12. The crypt passage is narrow. 8. 6. Harker stared at him. "You negotiate during emergencies?" "I have found emergencies are when people attempt the worst agreements." 6. Accepted. Orlon's former officers looked toward him. He wore no insignia. No command ring. 1 arm. The royal guards still arranged themselves instinctively around him. Harker noticed. "Captain Soul," she said. A narrow-faced officer stepped forward. "You command the escort. General Vey possesses no authority over you." Soul glanced at Orlon. "Yes, General." Harker's expression became dangerous. Soul corrected himself. "Yes, Commander." Orlon almost smiled. They crossed the bridge beneath a sky turning silver and black. The northern span had partially collapsed. Great slabs of stone hung over the river with nothing beneath them, their fractured edges trembling whenever the current struck the supports below. Darien went first. Wind clawed at his cloak. Water thundered through the gorge. Each careful step drove another spike of pain through his chest, but he never looked down. Mora followed close enough to catch him if he fell and angry enough to shove him forward if he slowed. Alistair remained beside Darien, not beside Lucien. There was no longer a clear difference. Tomas came behind them with Edwin's doubled shadow dragging half a heartbeat behind his boots. The cook had recovered his dented pot lid and strapped it to his forearm like a shield. A leather bag of blue bottles knocked against his hip. Cedric saw it. "You brought cooling fluid?" Tomas looked personally offended. "I brought vinegar." The bottles came from a royal alchemical wagon. "It is still vinegar." Corvin and Cedric escorted Evelyn. Orlon walked between 6 royal guards. No one trusted anyone. For this group, that counted as balance. They reached the northern road. The Ashbourne estate stood less than a mile away, its slate roofs visible above the trees. Yet the silver pillar made it appear both close and impossibly distant, as though the manor had been painted onto the far side of the sky. Darien took 10 steps. Gravel crunched beneath his boots. His breath misted in the sudden cold. The estate did not grow nearer. He looked back. The bridge now stood hundreds of yards behind them. Alistair noticed. "The road is stretching." "Destination magic," Orlon said. "The second key is establishing a controlled path." Tomas stared at the distant gates. "So we walk until it decides we arrive? If we remain on the road?" Darien stepped into the grass. The world snapped sideways. For one blinding instant, the estate stood directly in front of him. He saw candles burning in windows, rain staining the stone, and a woman-shaped silhouette waiting behind the iron gates. Then the ground folded like cloth. His stomach lurched. Air punched from his lungs. He found himself back on the road, 20 feet behind the others, one knee buried in the gravel. Tomas stared. That looked unpleasant. Darien rose. It lacked charm. Evelyn knelt and pressed one tattooed hand against the dirt. Her tattoos brightened. The path recognizes bloodline signatures. Alistair stepped forward. The entire landscape lurched toward him without making a sound. The estate jumped 50 yards closer. He took another step. Trees blurred past. The distance shortened again. "It wants an Ashbourne," Evelyn said. Darian felt Lucian react inside him. The path recognized the shared vessel. But the magic appeared uncertain which soul counted. Darian looked at Alistair. "You lead." Alistair walked. The group followed in single file. With every step he took, the world contracted. Trees slid past without wind. Fields folded into narrow strips of green and vanished behind them. Farm walls bent, straightened, and reappeared miles away. The silver pillar expanded until it filled half the sky. The displaced souls circling it sharpened into view. Hundreds of translucent figures revolved above the roofs. Some wore rusted armor. Some wore uniforms from kingdoms Darian did not recognize. Others carried shapes no living body in this world possessed. Too many arms, antlered silhouettes, wings made of smoke. All of them were conscious. All of them were being dragged toward the manor. A razor-thin line of blackness waited above the pillar. The souls rejected by the bloodline struck that line and vanished one by one, each disappearance accompanied by a distant sound like a door slamming under deep water. Evelyn flinched each time. "They are conscious. Can they hear us?" Darian asked. "Some." Darian activated shared voice. The ability had been intended for Lucian. He pushed it outward through the path. "Do not follow any destination you did not choose." His voice rolled across the estate grounds, deeper than thunder and far quieter. Every soul above the manor turned toward him at once. The silver pillar shuddered. Seraphine answered. "They have nowhere else to go." Darian kept walking. "Then offer them somewhere." "I did. You selected it for them. I saved them. You do not know the difference." The road ended. There was no final step. No sensation of crossing the last distance. One moment the estate waited ahead. The next, Ashbourne stood around them. The iron gates stood open, their hinges slowly dripping blood-red rust onto the stones. No guards waited outside. The courtyard was filled with kneeling people. Servants, soldiers, prisoners. Every one of them remained conscious. Every pair of eyes followed Darian. Silver threads emerged from their open mouths and ran toward the manor doors. The threads trembled with each trapped breath, shining like strands of moonlit spider silk. Lord Ashbourne knelt near the steps. His hands were bound behind him. Lady Helena lay beside him, unconscious but breathing. Bren and Nessa knelt beneath guard near the fountain. Their guards were trapped in the same silver threads. The magic had taken everyone without spilling a drop of blood. That made the courtyard worse than any battlefield. Darian approached Lord Ashbourne. The older man lifted his head. His eyes focused on Darian with difficulty. "Lucian." Shared voice answered before Darian could stop it. "Father." Lucian's voice came from their mouth. Small, unmistakable, alive. Lord Ashbourne closed his eyes. Pain crossed his face. Relief followed. Then shame buried both. "Your mother is beneath the house," he whispered. "You knew she was alive," Alistair said. Lord Ashbourne looked at his eldest son. "I knew she had not passed beyond." "That is not an answer." "It was the only one she permitted me to give." Alistair's sword left its sheath with a slow metallic whisper. "You allowed us to bury an empty coffin. I buried my wife. She was not inside it. Not all of her." The silver thread emerging from Lord Ashbourne's mouth snapped taut. He coughed blood. Darian cut at it with the broken sword. The blade passed through. The path did not originate in Lord Ashbourne. He was only connected. What did Seraphine do? Darian asked. Lord Ashbourne looked at him. "She found the sanctuary." "We know." "No." His voice weakened. "She found what the sanctuary was built around." The manor doors opened. Not outward. They drifted inward by themselves, and warm amber light spilled across the courtyard in a long, perfect rectangle. Dust glittered inside it. Every silver thread pulled toward the dark beyond. A woman stepped into the light. Seraphine Ashbourne stood in the doorway. Lucian remembered her at 37. The woman before them had not aged. She wore a dark silver dress that moved as though submerged in water. Her brown hair fell loose across her shoulders, untouched by the wind. No armor, no crown. A strip of burial cloth covered her eyes, the same pale, ancient fabric that had hidden the key fragments from the system. Silver threads extended from her fingertips, her throat, and the center of her chest. Hundreds of them. They disappeared into walls, bodies, and sky. With every slow rise of her chest, the souls above the estate moved with her. Lucian surged forward again. "Mother!" Seraphine smiled. For a single breath, she was not a corpse, a vessel, or the bearer of a key. She was simply a mother looking at the son she had mourned for 8 years. The expression carried so much love that Darian almost trusted it. "My boy." Alistair took one step. "Mother." Her smile faltered. "Alistair, you are alive." "No." The answer stopped him. Seraphine touched the cloth over her eyes. "My body died. What are you?" "Your mother." "That is not enough." Pain moved across her face. "You sound like him." She meant Darian. Alistair lowered his sword slightly. "He has asked questions no one else would answer." Seraphine looked toward the shared vessel. The burial cloth prevented Darian from seeing her eyes. He still felt her attention enter the body. It touched Lucian, ignored Darian, then struck the reclaimed fragment inside him. The ancient whisper beneath her voice sharpened. "Commander." Seraphine flinched. Her hands clenched. The silver threads shook. "Do not listen to it," she whispered. Darian stopped. "Which part of you is speaking?" Her head tilted. "Enough of me." The shadow behind her moved. Seraphine did not. The darkness peeled away from her heels and climbed the manor wall. It kept rising long after it should have matched her height, taller than a man, thinner than bone, with arms that bent at one joint too many. Its head unfolded into a crown of branching antlers. Every candle inside the manor went out. Evelyn drew a breath. "Bloodline possession," Evelyn whispered. Orlon's gaze hardened. "No," Orlon said. "It predates possession." The shadow's antlered head rotated toward him. "Black Hollow Butcher." The words did not enter through Darian's ears. They vibrated through his teeth. The royal guards raised their weapons. Orlon stepped forward. "What are you?" The shadow smiled from one side of its faceless head to the other. Seraphine's mouth did not move. "The destination." The silver pillar pulsed. The blast stripped leaves from every tree in the courtyard. Above the estate, a dozen souls were torn from the circling mass and hurled into the black line. They vanished mid-scream. Evelyn cried out. "They are crossing." Darian lifted the broken sword. Seraphine raised one trembling hand. Every silver thread in the courtyard snapped tight. The kneeling servants arched backward as one. Their screams tore through the night. "Do not attack," she said. "Their souls are connected to mine. Release them." "I cannot." "Then who can?" Seraphine's shadow answered. "The commander." The black interface opened across Darian's vision like a wound. Second key fragment located. Current bearer, Seraphine Ashbourne. Status, deceased. Function, destination selection. Current destination, the muster. Orlon saw the same words through his own system. His expression changed. "The army beyond the gate." "Yes," Darian said. The shadow leaned closer. "Every road requires an end." Alistair looked at his mother. "Did you choose this?" Seraphine turned toward him. "No." The shadow's hands descended onto Seraphine's shoulders. Its fingers sank into her as though flesh were smoke. Her spine snapped straight. When she spoke again, two voices came from the same throat, one grieving, one ancient. "I chose a sanctuary. She chose delay. I chose safety. She chose stagnation. I chose my son. She chose a commander." Seraphine screamed. The sound cracked the nearest windows. The burial cloth split across her left eye. Silver radiance poured through the tear, casting the bones of her face in stark silhouette. There was no eye beneath the cloth. In the hollow of her skull, a sliver of silver-black metal rotated soundlessly, long, narrow, and sharp as a needle. With every turn, another silver thread pulled tight. The second key had not merely entered her. It had replaced part of her soul. Lucien recoiled. "Mother!" Seraphine heard him. Her face softened. "I am sorry." Lucien pushed toward the surface. Darien allowed it. Their posture changed. Their voice became Lucien's. "What did you do?" Seraphine stepped down from the doorway. The shadow moved with her. "I tried to save you. From father." Lord Ashbourne lowered his head. Seraphine looked toward him. "From the bloodline." Alistair's grip tightened on his sword. "What does that mean?" The Ashbourne family was not founded by a night. The shadow behind her expanded across the manor wall. Hundreds of names appeared within it. Generations. Births. Deaths. Children carrying the same silver mark through 3 centuries. "Our ancestor was a returned soul," Seraphine said. "One of the first brought through the gate." Orlon's eyes narrowed. "Before the kingdom recorded system appearances." "Yes." "What class?" Seraphine's shadow answered. "Path Mother." Evelyn stepped backward. Her tattoos dimmed. "That class is forbidden." "Forbidden by whom?" Darien asked. "The system." The blue interface flickered in response. "No valid class record found." Evelyn laughed bitterly. "Of course." Seraphine continued. "The Pathmother could create stable routes between vessels, worlds, and bloodlines. She built House Ashbourne to carry the ability after her body failed." Alistair looked at the servants bound by silver threads. "We are descendants of a soul weapon." "No," Seraphine said. The shadow contradicted her. "Yes." Lord Ashbourne attempted to stand. The silver thread pulled him down. "Our family guarded the route," he said. "We did not use it." Seraphine turned on him. "Your fathers fed children to it." Silence crossed the courtyard. Alistair looked toward his father. Lord Ashbourne did not deny it. Lucien's anger filled the shared vessel. "What children?" Seraphine's expression broke. "Second sons. Unwanted daughters. Sick heirs. Anyone the family believed would not be missed." Lucien understood first. The academy. The isolation. The pressure. Cassion's cruelty. His father's refusal to intervene. Every action that pushed him toward death. "You prepared me." Lord Ashbourne's face collapsed. "No." Lucien stepped forward inside Darien's body. "You let them." "I tried to delay the selection." "You knew." "I knew the bloodline required a host. I did not know they had chosen you until I died." Lord Ashbourne could not answer. Alistair raised his sword toward his father. Seraphine's threads tightened around his arm. "Not now." Alistair fought the restraint. "You protected him. I protected both of you. You disappeared. I died stopping the transfer." Lucien stared at her. "The poison." Seraphine nodded. "It was not meant only to kill your body. It opened your soul to the bloodline route." The Black System had called Lucien's vessel corrupted, not because he lacked value, because someone had prepared him for another occupant. Darien felt cold rage move through the boy. "Who gave it to me?" Seraphine looked toward Lord Ashbourne. He shook his head desperately. "Not me." "Who?" "The family steward," Seraphine said. Alistair looked toward the manor. "Steward Caro died after Lucien." "No." A new voice came from the entrance hall. Nessa's face changed. She remained kneeling near the fountain, but the voice came from her mouth. An older man's voice. Calm. Precise. Caro changed bodies. Every weapon turned toward her. Nessa's eyes widened. "That was not me." Evelyn stared at the shadow beneath her. It moved independently. "The prisoners are carrying copied identities." Pell was not present, but his class had not been the only one capable of theft. The Pathmother's shadow stretched from Seraphine to Nessa, then to Bren, then to 3 servants. Each shadow contained the same thin male figure. Steward Caro had distributed himself. Darian remembered the gate commander's armor. Thousands of souls. Thousands of vessels. The same method in smaller form. Caro serves the Path Mother, Seraphine said. The shadow behind her tightened its grip. Caro serves the road. Lucian's voice trembled with fury. You let him stay here? Seraphine stepped toward him. I trapped him beneath the sanctuary. He is standing in the courtyard. He learned to move through the displaced souls when the first gate opened. Nessa's shadow smiled. Bren's mouth spoke next. The boy has returned. The commander has arrived. The destination can finally be completed. Darian pointed the broken sword toward them. What does the commander do? Every copy of Caro answered together. Chooses who marches. The black interface expanded. Command authority available. Unassigned forces. 614 displaced souls. Anchored commanders beyond gate. 217. Accept designation to assume control. Darian dismissed it. The messages returned. Candidate compatibility increased by reclaimed fragment. Leadership desire acknowledged. The fragment inside him recoiled. It also wanted to read every name, to know every ability, to organize the chaos. Darian closed his eyes. Lucian felt the temptation. You are thinking about it. Yes. Lucian's anger sharpened. You said you were not. I lied. The admission weakened the black interface. The fragment inside Darian stopped hiding. He wanted the army. Not because the system forced him. Not because an altar had corrupted him. Because a part of him believed he could use it better than whoever came next. That belief had always been his most dangerous one. Darian opened his eyes. I want the command. Orlon's remaining hand moved toward his sword. The weapon was no longer there. Royal guards raised theirs instead. Alistair looked at Darian. Lucian went still inside the bond. Darian continued. That is why I will not accept it. The black interface cracked down the center. Seraphine's shadow hissed. Denial. No. Darian looked directly at it. Recognition. Silver light moved through the broken interface. The Oath class responded. Internal conflict identified. No vow violation detected. User has acknowledged prohibited desire without submitting to it. Protected will strengthened. Orlon's expression changed. He understood. Years ago, Darian would have denied wanting control. The altar had taken what he buried. Now there was nowhere for the desire to hide. The Pathmother's shadow withdrew slightly. Seraphine drew a breath. For the first time, her own posture returned. Lucian, she said. The warmth in her voice was no longer amplified by the pillar. It sounded tired. Human. I can give you your body. The courtyard became silent. Darian felt Lucian's soul freeze. Seraphine extended one hand. Silver threads opened the manor doors wider. Beyond them, the central hall had disappeared. A chamber of pale light existed in its place. A body floated inside. 17 years old. Thin. Unscarred. Lucian Ashbourne. Not the body Darian wore. Another. An exact copy as it had existed before the poison. Lucian's presence surged. Alistair whispered his brother's name. Seraphine smiled through tears. I preserved your pattern before I died. Darian examined the body. No system interface appeared. The burial cloth wrapped around its wrists and throat hid it from detection. Lucian's voice entered his mind. Is it real? I do not know. Seraphine heard the answer through shared voice. It is yours. Darian looked at her. Built from what? Her expression tightened. Bloodline memory. Built from what? The Pathmother's shadow smiled. Seraphine closed her remaining visible eye. Rejected vessels. Alistair stepped backward. Tomas made a sound of disgust. The copied body inside the hall opened its eyes. Empty silver light filled them. Lucian recoiled. Seraphine reached toward him. I had no other material. You made a body from dead children? Alistair asked. I used what the family had already taken. That does not answer him, Darian said. Seraphine's voice broke. I was trying to return what was stolen. Lucian spoke through Darian's mouth. By using what was stolen from someone else. Seraphine flinched. The silver threads flickered. The Pathmother's shadow tightened around her throat. Children do not choose birth. Darian looked at the ancient shape. Then why should they choose the cost of another child's return? Because blood continues. People are not bloodlines. The shadow expanded. Spoken by a thief wearing another family's face. The words struck. Darian did not deflect them. Yes. Lucian reacted inside him. Not anger. Pain. Seraphine stepped closer. You admit it. I occupy his body. You consume his life. I have tried not to. You speak with his mouth. Yes. You wear his future. Yes. Then release him. Darian turned inward. Lucian stood in the soul space. His wrist chains were broken. The chain around his throat remained. Beyond him, the preserved body waited like an open door. Darian did not block the path. This choice is yours. Lucian stared at him. You could die. Yes. The body might accept me. Yes. Or it might be a trap. Yes. That is not helpful. It is what we know. Lucian looked toward his mother through Darian's eyes. Will the copy be mine alone? Seraphine answered immediately. Yes. The Pathmother's shadow answered at the same time. No. Seraphine's face twisted. Lucian heard both. The preserved body moved inside the chamber. Its mouth opened. Hundreds of voices whispered from it. Rejected children. Ashbourne sons and daughters whose names had been removed from family records. Lucian stepped away from the path. No. Seraphine stared. My love. No. You do not understand. I understand enough. I can make it safe. You could not make my first body safe. The words wounded her more effectively than any blade. Lucian continued. You were there. Seraphine's silver threads shook. You knew what they were doing. I tried to stop them. You left. I died. So did I. The courtyard went still. Lucian's voice grew stronger. And while I was gone, everyone kept deciding what my death meant. Lord Ashbourne lowered his head. Alistair's sword dropped to his side. Darian remained silent. Lucian deserved the space. You decided it meant you should build another body, he said. Father decided it meant silence. Alistair decided it meant failure. Darian decided it meant responsibility. Darian felt the boy's attention turn toward him. He was wrong too. Yes, Darian said. Lucian looked at Seraphine. I do not know what I want yet. The chain around his throat tightened. He gripped it. But I do not want that. The preserved body screamed. Its back arched inside the chamber. Every finger bent until the joints cracked. Its open mouth stretched wider than Lucian's mouth ever could. The scream did not belong to him. Hundreds of children cried out through the same throat. The sound rolled across the courtyard in layers. Young voices, frightened voices, voices that had waited generations for someone to hear them. The Pathmother's shadow ripped free of Seraphine. Darkness climbed the entire face of the manor. Antlered branches spread from its skull, spearing upward through the cloud cover. The silver pillar dimmed to the color of old bone. Choice is inefficiency. Every kneeling servant arched backward. Their silver threads tightened until thin lines of light shone through their throats. Above them, the displaced souls accelerated toward the black line. The orderly spiral collapsed into panic. Spirits clawed at empty air, collided, and spun helplessly upward. Evelyn shouted. It is opening the destination. The sky split from horizon to horizon. There was no thunder, only the immense tearing sound of reality being opened by force. Beyond the wound waited a plain without sun or horizon. Black standards hung in air that did not move. Hundreds of armored figures stood in perfect ranks stretching into the grey distance. Commanders from different worlds. Some human, some not. One wore a crown of fire. Another had 4 arms and carried a broken banner in each fist. A woman in glass armor stood beside a creature whose face was hidden behind a cage of gold. Every one of them turned toward Ashbourne Estate. The Path-Mother raised one elongated hand. Armor thundered across the endless plain as every figure beyond the opening knelt. Not to Darien. To the empty position waiting behind him. Commander designation. Vacant. Forced appointment initiated. Black symbols ignited around Darien's feet, burning their shapes into the courtyard stones. Orlon moved first. He hit Darien's shoulder first and drove him out of the circle. Both men struck the ground hard enough to crack stone. The symbols flowed after Darien like spilled ink. "They are bound to his soul," Orlon said. Darien rose. "Can you disrupt them?" "Temporarily." Golden light gathered around Orlon's remaining hand, bright enough to cast hard shadows across his face. The royal guards connected to him instinctively. Orlon stopped. He looked back. "Do you consent to contributing strength?" Captain Soul blinked, then nodded. "I consent." One by one, the 6 guards agreed. Golden threads connected their hearts to Orlon's hand. Orlon closed his fist and struck the black symbols. Gold and darkness collided. The impact tore the courtyard apart. A circular wall of stone erupted around them. Windows burst inward. Lord Ashbourne and the kneeling servants vanished behind a storm of dust. The forced appointment flickered. Darien ran through the debris toward Seraphine. The Path-Mother's shadow dropped between them. He drove the broken sword into its chest. The blade entered 3 inches and stopped as if he had stabbed the night sky itself. Thousands of names exploded through his mind. Ashbourne children. 3 centuries. Lives reduced to routs. Bodies treated as doorways. The Path-Mother spoke through all of them. Every family sacrifices for its future. Darien pushed the blade deeper. A future chosen by whom? Those strong enough to preserve it. Then it is not a family. Silver light spread along the broken sword. It is an occupation. He activated Break the Line. The shadow split. Not destroyed. Opened. Seraphine stood inside it, wrapped in silver chains. The second key rotated within her skull. Darien reached toward her. The Path-Mother struck him without moving. The courtyard vanished. A tidal wave of bloodline memories broke over him. He saw generations of Ashbournes kneeling in the crypt beneath wavering candles. He saw children led beneath the house by parents who refused to meet their eyes. Parents told the sacrifice protected the kingdom. Sons ordered to remain silent. Daughters told their bodies belonged to the line. Every cruelty disguised as inheritance. Darien's reclaimed fragment reacted with disgust. And recognition. He had used similar language in war. The army. The kingdom. The greater need. Different scale. Same structure. The Path-Mother pressed harder. "You understand." "Yes." The black symbols returned beneath him. Then command. "No. You have sacrificed soldiers." "Yes." "You have chosen who dies." "Yes." "You have used loyalty as currency." "Yes." Each admission weakened the silver armor around his soul, or strengthened it. Darien no longer knew. He continued. "I have done all of those things." The Path-Mother leaned close. "Then we are the same." "No." Darien gripped the chain around Seraphine. "I can regret them." He pulled. The link cracked. The Path-Mother screamed. Seraphine opened her remaining eye. The key inside it spun faster. "Lucien," she gasped. The boy answered through shared voice. "I am here. I promised you something." Lucien went still. A memory entered the bond. 6-year-old Lucien hiding beneath a banquet table. Too many guests. Too much noise. Seraphine kneeling beside him. You never have to come when someone calls unless you know who is asking. The childhood promise spread through the crypt. Not a system oath. A mother's lesson. The Path-Mother had used Seraphine's voice to call him. Seraphine had allowed the bloodline to turn that call into compulsion. Lucien understood. "You told me I did not have to come." Seraphine began crying. Yes. Then let me choose. The silver threads emerging from her hands loosened. The Path Mother seized them. Blood obeys. Seraphine gripped the threads herself. No. The ancient shadow tightened around her body. Her bones began cracking. Alistair ran forward. Mother! Darian grabbed him. If you cut the threads, the souls may be lost. Then what do we do? Give her another anchor. Alistair looked at him. Darian pointed toward the silver connection between Seraphine and Lucian. The Path Mother controls her through bloodline duty. She needs a promise stronger than duty. Alistair understood. He approached his mother. The shadow struck at him. Orlon redirected his golden attack. The Royal Guard's strength cut through the darkness long enough for Alistair to reach her. He took Seraphine's hand. She looked at her eldest son as though seeing him for the first time in years. I failed you too, she whispered. Yes. Alistair's answer was immediate. Honest. Seraphine flinched. He tightened his grip. But I am still here. The blue system appeared. Potential mutual oath detected. Darian shook his head. Not through the system. Alistair looked toward him. The system records. The Path Mother uses records. What do I say? The truth. Alistair turned back to Seraphine. I cannot promise forgiveness. Her lips trembled. I cannot promise that this family survives. The shadow pulled harder. I cannot promise Lucian returns to us. Seraphine began to fall. Alistair held her upright. But I promise you will not face what comes next alone. The words carried no system light. No golden symbols. No interface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then Seraphine squeezed his hand. I accept. A single thread appeared between them. Not silver. Not gold. Colorless. The Path Mother recoiled. Evelyn stared. What is that? Darian felt it. A bond without classification. A promise made with no reward. No level. No enforcement except the people involved. The systems could not see it. That made it invisible to the Path Mother. Alistair pulled. Seraphine stepped out of the shadow. The second key remained inside her. The Path Mother lost its vessel. The ancient shape collapsed across the courtyard. Then every copied fragment of Steward Caro screamed. The sound came from 5 throats at precisely the same instant. Nessa folded forward. Bren struck the ground face first. 3 servants began convulsing so violently that their heels hammered against the courtyard stones. Their shadows tore free. 5 black shapes raced across the ground, flowed up the manor steps, and poured through the open chamber doors. Inside, the preserved body jerked. Caro distributed identity entered it all at once. The copied Lucian sat upright. Every candle bent toward him. His silver eyes turned black from the center outward. So, Caro said through the boy's mouth, we use another door. Lucian's rage struck Darian like a blade. Caro tore the burial cloth from the copied body's wrists. The hidden vessel struck the system like a bell. Unregistered vessel identified. Composite soul occupancy. 83 identities. Primary controlling identity. Unknown. Secondary designation. Steward Caro. The copied body stepped from the chamber. Each movement was wrong. Too precise in one instant, violently corrected in the next, like a puppet controlled by 83 people arguing over the strings. Seraphine looked at it. Horror filled her face. I built that body for Lucian. Caro smiled. That is why it opens so easily. The Path Mother's shadow surged across the courtyard and entered him through the mouth. The copied body rose onto its toes. Then it began to grow. Vertebrae cracked one after another. Ribs widened beneath the skin. Fingers lengthened into pale, elegant claws. Silver lines burned across its body in the pattern of roads seen from impossibly high above. The face remained Lucian's, but the cheeks hollowed. The jaw sharpened. Years passed across it in seconds until the boy's stolen features looked older, colder, and carved from winter stone. Black branches pushed through the scalp with wet cracks and spread into a crown. The destination above the estate widened. On the horizonless plain, commanders beyond the gate began to stand, one by one, then rank by rank. The Pathmother Kero lifted a hand toward Darien. Appointment resumed. Black chains erupted from Darien's own shadow. They coiled around his boots, crushed his arms against his sides, and snapped tight across his throat. Lucian pulled from inside. Alistair struck first. His sword passed through the chains and buried itself in stone. Orlon's golden light hit them next and burst into a cloud of sparks. These were not restraints placed on Darien's body. They were anchored inside the reclaimed fragment, inside the part of Darien that wanted command. The Pathmother had not guessed where to bind him. It had found the one place he could not cut away without cutting away himself. Accept authority. The army beyond the opening raised its weapons. Choose a destination. Images opened around Darien like windows. Kingdoms beneath golden suns. Cities drowning under black seas. Worlds burning in wars that had lasted 1,000 years. Every destination waited for him to point. The commanders waited for one order. The fragment inside Darien whispered, "We could stop Volmir. We could crush the royal court. We could protect Lucian. We could close every gate. We could make betrayal impossible." Darien strained until the chains cut the breath from him. Every justification sounded reasonable, merciful, even. That was the danger. Lucian's voice came through the bond. "You said choices should remain yours." "Yes." "Then choose." Darien looked at the army, at the power, at the endless paths. He could refuse command. The role would remain vacant. The systems would continue searching. Someone else would accept. Perhaps someone worse. That thought was the sharpest hook. The belief that only Darien could be trusted with power. He had carried it through 2 lives. The black interface filled his vision. Accept designation? Darien stopped fighting the chains. Orlon shouted his name. Alistair moved toward him. Lucian became silent. Darien looked directly at the Pathmother. "I accept responsibility for the decision." The black interface brightened. Designation. But not ownership of the army. The message froze. Darien raised his bound hands. "You asked me to choose a destination." The Pathmother's copied face smiled. "Yes." Darien looked toward the hundreds of commanders beyond the gate. "Then I choose none." The system rejected the answer. Invalid destination. Each soul chooses its own. Invalid command structure. Then the structure fails. He activated Break the Line. Not against the chains. Against the destination field itself. The ability plunged beneath spellwork, bloodline, and system law. It struck the single idea holding every path together. One commander. One order. One destination. The black chains shattered. The crack raced upward through the open sky. The destination broke into hundreds of smaller windows. They scattered above the estate like shards from an enormous mirror, each revealing a different world. The commanders beyond the gate staggered. Their formation broke. For the first time, they looked at one another instead of the empty command position. Voices poured through the openings. Questions. Arguments. Names shouted for the first time in centuries. The Pathmother screamed, and every window shook. A road cannot choose itself. Darien stood. No. The broken sword burned silver in his hand. But travelers can. The displaced souls circling the estate stopped moving. Each now faced multiple paths. Some looked toward worlds they recognized. Others toward Seraphine's sanctuary. Some toward the people anchoring them in the valley. The system flooded Darien's vision. Destination network destabilized. Command designation rejected. Collective path selection unsupported. Manual review expanded. "Still dislike that phrase," Darien said. The Pathmother Kero attacked. The copied Lucian crossed the courtyard faster than sight. Its hand entered Darien's chest. Not through flesh. Through the soul bond. It seized Lucian. The boy screamed. Darien grabbed the creature's wrist. The Pathmother smiled with Lucian's stolen face. "Blood returns home." Lucian's throat chain pulled tight. His soul began leaving the shared vessel. Darian held on. Alistair drove his sword through the copied body's back. The creature barely reacted. Seraphine placed both hands around the second key inside her own skull. She began pulling it free. Orlon saw. "That will destroy what remains of your soul." Seraphine looked toward Lucian. "I know." Alistair released his sword and grabbed her arms. "You promised you would not face this alone." "I am not. That does not mean you may die." A sad smile touched her face. "You sound like your brother." "Which one?" Seraphine looked at Darian. "Yes." She pulled the key halfway free. Silver light erupted from her eye. The destination windows shook. The Pathmother released Lucian and turned toward her. "Bearer." Seraphine held the fragment. "Lucian." The boy answered through Darian's mouth. "I am here. Choose." The second key controlled destination. Seraphine could not destroy it safely. She could allow its intended user to select where the path ended. Lucian looked through Darian's eyes. At the copied body. At his mother. At the estate. At the preserved sanctuary beneath the crypt. At the hundreds of displaced souls waiting for permission to exist somewhere. He did not choose the copied vessel. He did not choose the gate. He did not choose death. "Here," Lucian said. The key reacted. Destination clarification required. Lucian's presence spread through shared voice. Not the estate. The ground shook. Not the bloodline. The Pathmother screamed. Not a body someone else prepared. The silver bond between Lucian and Darian brightened. "Here means where I choose to remain." The key turned. Every path redirected. Not into Darian's body. Around it. The shared vessel became a fixed point rather than a destination. A landmark souls could navigate from without entering. The displaced spirits saw the distinction. Anchor. Not vessel. The sanctuary beneath the crypt opened. Its walls expanded beyond physical space. Hundreds of souls flowed downward. Each paused at the entrance. Each chose. Some entered. Some remained with their living anchors. 12 followed the golden threads connected to Orlon. Others selected distant windows and vanished toward worlds they remembered. The system struggled to classify the event. Mass consent event detected. No command authority identified. Destination selection distributed. Warning. Unsupported soul autonomy may destabilize gate network. The Pathmother's body began breaking. Caro screamed through 83 voices. "You will scatter them." Lucian answered. "They were never yours to gather." Seraphine tore the second key free. The fragment floated above her hand. Her body collapsed. Alistair caught her. The Pathmother abandoned the copied vessel. Its shadow surged toward the key. Darian intercepted. The shadow entered his reclaimed fragment. Cold spread through his chest. The ancient voice filled him. "Then you will carry the road." Darian felt branching paths open inside his soul. Every displaced spirit. Every gate. Every possible destination. Too much. The fragment he had reclaimed recognized the structure. Control through connection. Command through knowledge. The Pathmother attempted to root itself inside the part of him most vulnerable to its promise. Lucian grabbed it from within. Not physically. Through the throat chain still binding him. "You wanted Ashbourne blood." Lucian pulled. The chain connected to the Pathmother. For 3 centuries, it had used the bloodline to control its descendants. Now the connection worked both ways. Lucian dragged the ancient presence out of Darian. The Pathmother screamed. Seraphine opened her remaining eye. "Alistair," she whispered. He held her tighter. "I am here. Take the key." He looked at the silver fragment. "What will it do?" "Choose you." "I do not want it." "Good." She placed it in his hand. The fragment pierced his palm. Alistair cried out. Silver lines travelled along his arm. The Pathmother turned toward him. A new bearer. A living Ashbourne. The easiest vessel. Alistair looked at his mother. Then at Lucian. then at the hundreds of names carved into the courtyard shadows. He closed his hand around the key. I reject the inheritance. The fragment cracked. Lord Ashbourne shouted from the steps. You cannot. Alistair looked at his father. Watch me. He drove the key point first into the courtyard. His sword remained buried in the copied body, so he raised his bare fist. The first blow split his knuckles. The second sprayed blood across the silver metal. The fragment resisted, ringing like a struck bell. Darian brought down the broken sword. Orlon struck with the last of his golden light. Seraphine pressed her hand over Alistair's bleeding fist. Lucian pushed through the shared bond with a cry that came from Darian's mouth. Four forces met. Royal. Oath-bound. Bloodline. Dead. The second key fragment shattered. For one impossible instant, every piece hung motionless in the air. Then the world answered. The Pathmother screamed across every open destination. The sound did not come from Seraphine. It did not come from Caro. It came from the Ashbourne estate itself. Every stone in the manor screamed against the next. Walls split from roof to foundation. Windows exploded outward in glittering sheets. The fountain collapsed, and its water vanished into widening cracks. Deep beneath the manor, something enormous moved. Not a soul. Not a spell. A body. The sanctuary had not been built inside the crypt. The crypt had been built on top of the sanctuary's body. The ground opened with a roar. Silver ribs punched through the earth around the courtyard, each larger than a tower. Soil and shattered coffins poured from them. Ancient burial cloth streamed from their edges like pale banners. The entire estate tilted toward the pit. Kneeling servants slid across the courtyard, fingernails tearing against stone. Royal guards seized them. Tomas grabbed Lord Ashbourne by the collar and dragged him away from the opening. The manor's central wing folded inward. Roof, walls, and 3 centuries of Ashbourne history disappeared into a cloud of pulverized stone. Beneath it lay a colossal skull, human in shape, impossible in scale. Its teeth were taller than men. Burial cloth wrapped its empty eye sockets in layer after ancient layer. Evelyn stared into the pit. The first Pathmother. Seraphine's voice weakened. Her original vessel. The ancient shadow fled the copied Lucian and raced down the falling debris toward the skull. Darian understood. Breaking the key had not killed the Pathmother. It had removed the device limiting where she could go. She entered the giant corpse. The burial cloth over its face tightened, then tore down the center. 2 silver eyes opened beneath Ashbourne estate. Light flooded the pit. Every shadow in the courtyard vanished. The entire valley convulsed. Stone grated against teeth as the skull's mouth moved. Commander! The single word rolled through the earth and came back from the mountains. Darian looked down into the darkness. The Pathmother no longer needed Seraphine, or Caro, or the copied body. She had returned to the only body that had ever truly been hers. The black line in the sky snapped shut. The destination windows went dark one after another, severing worlds like extinguished stars. Every soul that had not chosen a path fell toward the sanctuary. Silver ribs curved inward around them. Not protectively, Darian realized. Possessively. The estate continued collapsing. General Harker's army sounded alarm horns from the bridge. Their notes overlapped, urgent and small against the grinding of the earth. Orlon looked toward the enormous skeleton beneath the ground. You said the bloodline was a road. Seraphine struggled to breathe. I was wrong. The giant hand beneath the estate began to rise. Each finger broke through a different section of the grounds. Stone walls, ancient trees, and entire buildings slid from its knuckles as it unfolded from the earth. What was it? Darian asked. Seraphine looked at Lucian's shared face. A cage. The Pathmother's voice shook snow from the distant mountains. 300 years. The colossal corpse pulled itself from the earth. Silver ribs rose through the ruins. A spine longer than the estate tore free of the valley floor. Each movement opened another ravine. 300 years of children carrying pieces of me. Its skull turned toward Darian. And now the final piece has returned. Darian felt the fragment inside himself react. Not his reclaimed fragment. Something beneath it. Something that had entered him when he touched the black altar in his first life. A mark older than the Gate Commander. A piece the Path Mother recognized. The blue and black systems appeared together. For the first time, their messages were identical. Catastrophic entity awakening. Path Mother vessel restoration. 92%. Missing component detected within Darien Vale. Lucian's voice entered Darien's mind. You have another stolen soul fragment inside you. Darien stared at the rising corpse. I noticed. The Path Mother extended one enormous hand. Silver threads erupted from every fingertip, thousands of them spreading across the courtyard in a shining net. They did not reach for Lucian. They reached for Darien. Seraphine clutched Alistair's armor. Her voice became almost too quiet to hear. Do not let her complete the body. Alistair looked at the towering entity. How? Seraphine's gaze moved toward the open crypt. The third key. Darien felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. The silver threads struck his chest and wrapped around him. Armor buckled. His boots left the stone. Orlon caught one arm. Alistair caught the other. The Path Mother pulled all three toward the pit. Broken stone slid with them. Bodies, weapons, and uprooted trees tumbled into the darkness on either side. Tomos grabbed Alistair. Mara grabbed Tomos. Royal guards threw themselves down and formed a chain across the collapsing courtyard. Captain Soul locked both arms around a broken pillar. Cedric seized Mara's belt. Tomos's boots carved two dark lines through the dust. For several impossible seconds, human hands held against a creature buried for 3 centuries. Then the giant skull opened its mouth. Inside waited no tongue, no throat, only a doorway wide enough for an army. Heat rolled through the opening. It carried ash, old blood, and the distant cries of dying horses. Beyond it stood a battlefield beneath a red sky. Black Hollow. Darien's first world. The place where he had died. Soldiers moved among distant fires. Black banners snapped above shattered wagons. Carrion birds wheeled through columns of smoke. Not memories. Not ghosts. Living people. At the center of the battlefield stood 3 men in blood-stained officer armor. The men who had betrayed Darien. The men who had walked away while he died. As one, all 3 turned toward the open doorway. The oldest stepped forward through the drifting ash. He had aged 16 years. Silver streaked his beard. A scar crossed the mouth that had once sworn loyalty to Darien Vale. A black crown rested on his head. When he saw Darien hanging above the pit, he smiled as though an expected guest had finally arrived. "Commander," he said. The battlefield fell silent behind him. The silver threads pulled harder. Darien slid toward the giant doorway and the world where he had died. The crowned betrayer opened his arms. "Come home."